Hello everyone, welcome to the Hi-Fi of the Day, Daily Current Affairs by Alchemy IAS Institute. I am Suhas. We are going to discuss the 5 important topic from the news which will be relevant for your UPSC civil service preparation. Recently in news, there was a mention about Scarborough Shoal South China Sea dispute. Why it is in news? What is the context? The Scarborough Shoal is a triangular chain of reef and rock and a small islands located in the South China Sea. And it's approximately 220 kilometers west of Philippine Luzon. It's part of the contested South China Sea. So what's the relevance of South China Sea? South China is south to Chinese mainland, and China has a claim, or China is claiming that China is the sole authority of South China Sea. And what is a dispute background? And this area is being under dispute, and the claimants are China, Philippines, and Taiwan. And China's stance is it's part of its 9-dash line that claims a historical right over this region. You can see here the geographical location south of China is part of its 9-dash line. China is claiming over this region on a historical background, and the Philippines stance lies within its exclusive economic zone under the United Nations Convention on Law of Ocean. It's 200 nautical miles near to its land. So, according to that convention, according to that law, that area is part of Philippines claim. And in 2012, there was a standoff with China and Philippines. China's effectively took control over naval face-off with the Philippines. And in 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling, The Hague, rejected the Chinese claim, upheld the Philippines' exclusive economic zone right, and China rejected the ruling of the Permanent Court of Arbitration. So why this area is strategically significant for all these three countries? This area is rich in fisheries that livelihood and affecting like impacting livelihood of the people and direct impact on food security of this country. And there is a potential oil and gas reserve there, so there is a chance of oil exploration in this area, and it will be affecting that economy of these countries, and it's vital for sea line communication. It's world's busiest trade route, so it is important for China and other countries also to getting connected with other areas of the world. And there is a control of this shoal that leverage in maritime strategy, that it will be a choke point kind of a situation. Who is controlling of this shoal be the dominant position. And recently, what happened? What are the recent development in these years? The Chinese Coast Guard accused of blocking Philippine vessels with water cannons and military ships. The Philippines strengthening the defense tie with the United States, Japan, and India that worried China. They are actually becoming the part of partial Quad and India also. And India, Philippines, the first BrahMos missile system delivered in 2024. So the Philippines is getting aligned with India. That is also worrying China. And the Scarborough Shoal remain the flashpoint in Indo-Pacific security. So it is actually as a blow to the Chinese string of pearl policy to contain India in Indian Ocean. That South China Sea itself, there is another claim by Philippines and Taiwan. There's an article about Earth's shifting forces, about earthquake, floods, and climate extremities. So understand the structure of Earth. Earth's interior and tectonic plate, it's very dynamic. The crust have a 5 to 70 kilometers. It's outermost surface of outermost layer of the Earth. It supports the life and relief features that we are existing on this crust. And the mantle is approximately 2,900 kilometers. Its upper mantle, it's lithosphere. It is rigid, and asthenosphere, that semi-molten and convection currents are there, and the convection currents drive the plate movement. So this asthenosphere responsible for the movement of plates over the crust, and the core is from 2,900 to 6,000 371 kilometers from the surface, and it consists of iron and nickel, and it's source of Earth's magnetic field. So the structure of Earth and why, what are the reason for this earthquake? Type of plate boundaries and landform. The plate have three type of boundary movement. One is convergent, divergent, and transform. In convergent movement, the plates collides each other, and divergent movement, plates separate each other, and in transform movement, the plates like slides each other. So in the convergent movement, the plate collides means it creates trenches, mountains, and volcanic acts like the Himalayan mountains and Andes mountains. And in divergent plate, it creates mid-ocean ridges, rift valleys, for example, East African Rift Valley, Mid-Atlantic ridges. And in transform plates, it's create earthquake. Example, San Andreas fault created earthquakes. And the forces shaping Earth's surface is either it can be endogenic or exogenic. Endogenic means internal force, exogenic means external force. What are the endogenic forces? It can be sudden earthquake kind of volcanic eruption kind of or tsunami kind of thing, and it is diastrophic, that mountain building or it's it says like orogeny and large submergence or emergence. And in exotic forces, that external forces, it can be weathering, erosion, mass wasting, and deposition over that, and shaped by water, wind, or glaciers. These are external or weathering agents. We call it as weathering agents: water, wind, glaciers, and the waves. And the key theories defining or key theories administering these concepts are: one is continental drift theory by Wegener in 1912. He says that the continent once joined, that it's drift apart. And in seafloor spreading theory by Harry Hayes, it's a new crust at ridges that ocean expands. In the plate tectonics by Mackenzie and Parker and Morgan, it says that the combines both the theory and explain the present Earth dynamic, that continental drift theory and the ocean seafloor spreading theory. And examples of plate movement: Indian plate, it's drifted from Gondwana land. The Indian plate drifted from Gondwana land, collided with the Eurasian plate and formed the Himalayan mountain and Eurasian plate. And the Atlantic Ocean, it's expanding due to the divergent plate boundary, and Pacific Ocean is shrinking due to the subduction of ring of fire. These are the living or like present examples of this plate tectonics and movement. And the risk to Himalayan population, the earthquake, you can see that the earthquake are very common for this region. The earthquake in Nepal, Afghanistan, and Turkey, and floods and flash floods in Uttarakhand 2015 and Pakistan, and the volcanic activities and tsunamis in Indonesia, Japan, Ring of Fire region. And why it is worsened now? That because of not only this the plate movement is the reason, but what accelerated these events, the frequency of these events, it is due to the urbanization, that rapid urbanization, unplanned land usage in this ecologically fragile region, and a fragile Himalayan ecosystem is being abused, being used for this tourism purposes, and the rapid urbanization and the climate change also accelerated these the frequency of these events. The reasons are global warming and other irregularities in monsoon and irregularities in oro, means rainfall, also accelerated these events. So we have to go for a balancing disaster preparedness with the resource utilization. Why we are utilizing the resources, we have to keep in mind that the disaster risk should be reduced, and the balancing of disaster preparedness also should be there. The challenge is population pressure on this eco-sensitive region, and infrastructure in hazard-prone zones overexploits the resources of that region. And the preparedness measures like seismic zoning and resilient construction, like it is highly recommended that the land usage policy should be in a way that we have to zonify, like we have to do zoning of these regions, seismic fragile zones, and the infrastructure construction in these regions should be in a manner that it should withstand during a disaster, during a earthquake, or that building should be earthquake resilient, earthquake resistant kind of a building. An early warning system for earthquake and tsunami is recommended by NDMA, and the climate adaptation strategy for floods or extreme rainfall. In the climate change, we can do two kind of strategy. Either we can adapt with the climate change, or we can mitigate the climate change. Adapting with the climate change means accepting the climate change is happening, and we have to restructure our life and our environment in a way that we can withstand with these adversities. That is adapting with the adaptation to the climate change. Otherwise, we can mitigate the climate change. That okay, climate change happened at this point. We should not accelerate. We should not go beyond this point. Beyond this point, the climate should not happen, or else like it should not happen in an adversary way. Oh, so how we can do? We can focus on sustainable development. We can focus on greenhouse gas emission. We can focus on non-renewable energy consumption. Like in a many way, we can focus on uh, disaster resilient development. And during development also, we can focus on disaster risk reduction. And the national priority, it's like linking National Disaster Management Authority and balancing the development project. Like it is mandatory that in the NDMA Act itself, the various section mandates that the central government ministry should prioritize or should consider the disaster risk reduction or integrate the disaster risk reduction dimensions in their developmental project, and it's integrated in planning and projects. Focus of today's news: Gyan Bharatam mission. Gyan, Vigyan. At the Gyan Bharatam International Conference in 2025, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted the need of digitalizing the manuscript and curb the intellectual piracy, and reclaim the intellectual property right of this. And it's a formal launch of Gyan Bharatam mission by the Ministry of Culture. Please note it down. Ministry of Culture is responsible for Gyan Bharatam mission. And what is it, Gyan Bharatam mission? It is announced in Union Budget 2025-26, and it replaces the National Manuscript Mission, which was earlier in operation 2003, which was a slow paced. Now we are accelerating. The aim is to survey, conserve, and digitize and revive the India's manuscript heritage. It is around 1 crore manuscripts are there. We will digitalize this knowledge, and the budget allocation is 400 crore for this. And the headquarters will be New Delhi with regard regional centers across all the state, and envisioned as an institution like Archaeological Survey of India for manuscript. So as of now, we have an Archaeological Survey of India. So we will envisage another institutional setup for this manuscript digitalization and preserving the manuscript. So what are the objective? Identification and documentation of manuscript national-wide, and conservation and restoration and digitalization. We will use AI assisted handwritten text recognition, HDR, handwritten text recognition, which is actually available for a common people like in a Google Lens kind of application. Now we will use AI based handwritten to text handwritten text recognition kind of technology, using AI, integrating AI for this, and cloud-based repository, micro filming of manuscripts, and research and publication, translation of this thing, and facilities critical editions and accessible. It will lead to accessible manuscript in multiple languages. So these traditional knowledge or traditional writings can be accessible for the common people if it is available in multiple languages, that indigenous or as like Indian languages. And the capacity building, the training and paleography, conservation and transcription of this, and technology development for digital tools, cloud solution, and mobile application, and global accessibility of these ancient traditional knowledge. And Gyan Sedu is an AI innovation. Challenges are the launch under Gyan Bharatam mission aims to involve students, startups, and researchers in heritage technology, and uses AI to preserve and interpret manuscript and position the cultural preservation as a collective national endeavors. And cultural and civilizational importance is manuscript cover the subjects of philosophy, medicine, astronomy, science, art, governance, and whatnot. Like it is ancient handwritten text. It's not written by a single person. It is an ancient traditional handwritten text which is containing our India's traditional knowledge in various fields like this philosophy, medicine. So, for example, the Gilgit manuscript contains the authentic history of Kashmir, which we got from the Gilgit Baltistan, and The mission seeks to project India as a global intellectual leader and showcasing the traditional knowledge which now that this kind of knowledge were popular, also like knowledge where India was a pioneer of these kind of knowledge. This thing we will be showcasing in front of the world once we got digitalizing or it's like translating this manuscript. So please note it down. It's a potential question for next preliminary examination. Portable ion chromatograph aquamonitrix. What is it? Scientists at the University of Tasmania, Australia developed a portable ion chromatograph to analyze anion like nitrate in salt or water. It's bring real world practice to classroom like low cost, eco-friendly and educational too. So what is this? What is the key features? What is this ion chromatography? It's a technique to separate ions from a simple by passing through a column. Okay, from a sample by passing through a column. Conventionally, it is done in a sophisticated labs using bulky, expensive devices. But using this portable device, we can do it in a manner that in a simple, low-pressure portable ion chromatograph uses NaCl solution to carry the sample and exchanges anions along the column. So what is this? And it is environment friendly, no toxic chemicals, just salt water, and produces a result compared to the conventional lab chromatograph. And the applications are we will be able to detect nitrate and nitrate ions in soil water and help monitoring pollution, water treatment, agriculture, and used in the field based education for students directly test the samples outside the lab using this portable device. And it is useful in developing countries like India and Bangladesh where groundwater nitrate is high, and the benefit is it is portable and cheaper and that the bulky devices in lab for chromatography, and promotes hands-on learning for chemistry students and support environmental monitoring, fertilizers, runoff water, wastewater, and river quality. So please note it down. It is relevant for a science and technology topic of UPSC prelims. Light pollution and birds behavior. Is there any connection between light pollution and the behavior of bird? A global study of 583 bird species based on a 181 million raw detection of bird sound shows that the artificial light, that means like light from our electric lights and sources, which is not uh, what can I say, which will be present in night time. So artificial light at night is pushing birds to stay awake longer, because these species, these birds, or like other than humans, they are they are adapted in a way that they will be sleeping when the uh, sun sets. During the night time they will be sleeping, but what happens because of this artificial lighting, the these kind of species like birds are feeling that it is not night yet, so they stay awake, so they will not sleep. That's the problem. So this effect is strongest in breeding season for a birds with a larger watchful eyes. Always like during the breeding season, they will be so aware that with a watchful eye. So when the artificial lights are there, the light pollution make the birds awake throughout the night. And the key finding says that impact of artificial lights on birds. Birds remain active for 1 hour longer than longer after sunset in brightly light area and disrupts natural that circadian rhythm of the birds that affect the migration, feeding, and breeding cycle of birds. And birds with the larger eye stays up 35 minutes later, while small eye species were less affected. Ecological consequences: it increases that foraging time of birds, means high energy demand is there for birds, like they have to consume more energy for being alive, and may raise productive reproductive output also, but also disrupt the food chain. And migratory birds loses natural cues and landing to navigational errors because of this sleeplessness and this light pollution. And fireflies and bioluminescence communication disrupted. You can see that the fireflies are very rare now. Like earlier there are a lot of fireflies are there, but now the fireflies are very rare. It is not extincted, though we are rarely seeing these fireflies. So this fireflies communication is disrupted because of this, and reducing the survival chance of fireflies. And the regional perspective finding consistent across USA, Europe, and Australia, global south also. In southern India, artificial lighting disrupted the synchronized freely firefly patterns, threatening their survival. That's why we are not able to see these fireflies anymore, or it's like they are there but in rare in number, though they are not extincted. So this artificial lighting is a problem for birds also, for human also. So while you are sleeping, please turn off the light and sleep peacefully. That's all.